Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Fourth quarterfinals coming your way. It is going to be Armament versus MonkaS, ready to cash their ticket into semifinals and to take us through the action. Lemon and Hurix, go ahead, guys.
Oh, Hurix, this is going to heat up. This is both their teams' chance to get into the semifinals. Not only that, but to get into Contenders Trials. What everybody's fighting for, MonkaS versus Armament. What do you see?
Well, right off the bat, I see two Sombras in play. It's that same setup on Gardens where it's going to come down to this matchup, but really it's not as necessary. Those tanks just got obliterated. Sleep lost his mech so early on, and DPI in the meantime was just wasting away the backline of MonkaS on that Tracer pickup, and that's been huge for them. And, you know, we do see as well that Pharah pickup, Chang, I guess most often you would see him on a Tracer to solidify kills, but it's going to be the Sombra. We'll have to see if they can find those last hits off of that those directs from Romeo into this fight.
Speaking of Romeo, he's so close to a barrage, and you just got the coalescence from Agatha just raining in on the team of MonkaS. Full in control of this game, it seems. Armament will keep it going on.
And we still see Romeo up top, and DPI has a pulse bomb here. We'll have to see if he can get one set in, find himself a pick, as nobody's really looking at Romeo. They're just letting him just cast away, and they all go off the edge. Finds one kill. There's the barrage.
The Lucio came back, I think, but the barrage gets traded out 1-1. The D-Mech goes through. Armament now losing members. Their supports are out. What a quick retake here from MonkaS.
We're going to see them take, yeah, I mean, it is rather quick, especially considering the fact that they really didn't have any way in, it seemed. I mean, Romeo was up top, and we see a little late kill there onto Reventon, but, you know, Romeo was up top just throwing in rockets, but wasn't really getting anything done, to the point where Armament was all but ignoring the Pharah. I mean, almost completely ignoring the Pharah. So we'll have to see if they're going to continue that, or if they're just going to jump onto the point and see if they can maybe pull him into a better position where they can start dealing with him then.
Now, way too early of a concussive blast there, but Armament going in with the Sounder at the start. They have so many ultimates to work with. Both teams have not only self-destruct and Primal Rage. It's going to make a lot of room. Self-destruct over the top, though. It's not going to find much. Armament now continuing to build their percentages. MonkaS, though, they lose Sign very early in that fight. It's an equal trade of supports, though. But Porori, I'm going to mix up all these names. He already starts the Primal Rage, and it's over before I can figure out his name.
That was pretty quick there, too. And we see DPI, he threw the pulse bomb out, didn't really find anything, certainly not what he wanted, which was the kill onto the Winston, but they do in the end get what they were looking for, which was a reset for MonkaS, and as Porori does fall back here, they're going to look to try to re-engage, self-destruct up over the top, but man, was that ever a firework if I've ever seen one.
Firework, and Romeo just barely dodged it. Had to go so down to the ground, and ow! Reventon really messing things up for MonkaS, already finding, I mean, the main tank is gone. Supports are out here for MonkaS. They're going to have to reset 98, 99. At least overtime was triggered. But this is not going to be the forever fight. It's going to end right here, 100-30 in a few seconds. Armament leading leading Lijiang Tower to start.
They're still diving in. It looks like they're going to try to contest, but this should end eventually. Zion can certainly get back onto the point. Sleep will be able to actually pull that off himself, but Armament in full control right now. They're going to be able to close this one out. And, you know, going back to I had a momentary thought that I just feel like I have to share, but if you've ever seen the movie Tangled, you know, there's this scene where like there's a bunch of lanterns that just kind of float up into the sky, and it's like this beautiful moment where everybody takes a moment. It's you know, some silence, and everybody just watches as the lanterns float into the sky. I feel like there's been some self-destructs that look a lot like that throughout this series so far, that just kind of have floated up into the air. No harm to anybody. Everybody just look up in the air. Ooh, look at that. And it explodes and it's done.
So pretty.
No harm.
Yeah, you see the fireworks, yeah. Because it was, at least the other guy was having a Pharah to try and go after. The other self-destruct, I don't know why it went up into the air. There's no one in the air to go after, but let's forget about that one. Control Center will be our second point. Armament up clearly in Lijiang Tower. Can MonkaS bring this one back? They have Romeo on the May.
I actually like this. We've seen this a couple of times. I mean, even going back over to South America, this was a composition that we actually saw on this map in particular. We'll see how it actually winds up working out with the isolations.
Well, yeah, you can not only divide the team, you can slow these tanks down trying to run away from you. DPI's not gonna, I almost called him Armpit. It's definitely Arm DPI, but just barely missing that, a couple letters for that name. Yeah, maybe you have to rethink where you're putting Arm in your name, but MonkaS had the first take here.
I think what happened here was Ham trapped you into that one because Ham was talking about that before, and she trapped you into that one. She set you up for that. But already Chang, and this is that Zarya, the power of the Zarya holding out with high energy right into this. Oh, what a shatter!
It's huge! It got everybody, every single person. They were trying to go in on that. What a play!
Sometimes you can just put everybody on your shoulders, and with legs like that, why not? Rory, massive Earth Shatter, and they can hang on to everything else that they've been building and use that for the next fight.
We sure got tangled in that Earth Shatter, and that's not going to be a fun time. They don't have to worry about it, but now the Graviton did just get eaten. You just did that in front of a Diva who was matrixing. Oh no, now this is Armament's chance, placing the Nano Boost onto Reventon. He's having a bit of a Reinhardt duel, and he's obviously going to win that one out. They go towards the point. Armament, in time, will flip it.
And we'll see DPI go forward now as he's looking to try to get his first Graviton of the match, and we'll see if once he does get it, if we can see Sleep have that same impact of gobbling up what could have been a stifling Graviton surge that could have easily put MonkaS in the driver's seat there.
Well, Graviton, and it doesn't get eaten this time. It only traps the two tanks. Sound Barrier here does keep them up. Self-destruct, though, is going to clear that space. It's going to be a reset fight. Somehow still catches Romeo. I have no idea how, but that Sleep just costed Reventon's life. They follow up on it, but what an ante from the defense. Both Reinhardts are out, and it's clearly Armament in the driver's seat. Yeah,
and as DPI goes forward, he's going to be throwing out tons of damage. He's actually caught. They could kill him. What a wall that came down from Romeo to isolate the Zarya.
That pin out of nowhere too. What is this? Nano onto a Diva. That's definitely not something you see too often.
Yeah, not too often at all. But with the heal, you might see it a little bit more often just to get, get those health resets. It might be important later on, but now as Romeo on this Mei, they just looking to kill the Lucio. They do find it with that right click of the Icicle and backing out not just the Zarya, but possibly even the Diva as well, as they once again catch DPI between a wall and a very, very hard place.
Well, they're about to be in a cold place. That Blizzard is online for Romeo, and you got Perori's Shatter, about to have Graviton. You have 3 crowd control ultimates that you can mix and match however you want. The cards are dealt. How are Armament going to respond? Would love to see this get eaten again. I think that might be too lucky. Shatter slams down, finds nothing, but that's one Nano Reinhardt you do not want to mess with, and there's the Fortress that sets up with the Mei wall. Armament charge forward. It does wound the tanks. Reventon needs backup, but he gets slowed down. The Blizzard is dropped in. Is it eaten? I think it was eaten, Urix.
No, I think it actually...
Where did it go?
It looked like it went down on mine, but I mean, it's hard to tell at this point. So MonkaS looking to try to stabilize here, but because of the fact that they were able to get these last couple of kills here, especially onto the supports, they're going to be able to close this one out, and things are going to be tied up 1-1. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what happened with the Blizzard there, because on my screen it was there for a moment, but then like for some reason it disappeared. I don't know what happened, but...
I mean, that would have been the shortest winter I've ever seen. That's like some Nevada winter right there. If that was a Blizzard that went down, pretty sure that was eaten. But that means, I mean, how many ultimates have we seen eaten this game? What a heads-up play from Armament.
Yeah, and it's constantly KimC that's doing it too, right? I mean, we saw, Chang that was able to come forward and throw out what was an incredibly quick setup for a Graviton Surge, very, very charged up very quickly. And KimC just turned that fight around for them. I mean, quickly by eating up the Graviton Surge and then put DPI into this place where he could really start kind of carrying momentum. But there it is, the Mei coming back again. And I would love to tell Armament to put some ice on it after, DPI just got completely pummeled in a few situations. But that's basically what got him there in the first place.
I think our production is telling us that it might have got EMP'd or it got hacked, and that's an animation like it only happens in a few seconds. But look at Romeo returns with the Blizzard, or at least with the Mei, freezing everybody, walling everybody off that even gets close to the point. Oh, but he was not expecting that one. Can't wall off Reventon, but it doesn't matter. He's the last one left. MonkaS get the first take.
Yeah, so for clarification, it indeed was the EMP that canceled that Blizzard. I mean, despite that, they still win the fight, but still, that's the timing on that is absolutely mind-boggling. It was able to actually cancel out the Blizzard, especially when I even saw the animation come out. Like, the actual Blizzard went down, and then it got canceled by the EMP there.
That's a play we got to get a replay for one day. We'll show you guys. Now, the final map on Lijiang between Armament and MonkaS to go up 1-0 in the series in this best of 5. You can see DPI with the Widowmaker trying to find some shots, but I mean, the Romeo is really walling off, almost like on Nepal, how you're able to use that mate to deny the space and deny entry to the other team. And it's working out very well, except when I jinxed them right there. Romeo, a DPI, at least finding shots through the wall.
I feel like the meta of casting at some point is just going to become, you know, not talking at all. Like, the profession is going to be based off of who can say nothing, because with all of the caster curses that keep getting thrown out from us, it's just insane. But despite that, we're going to continue talking and cursing people left and right, because it's just what we love to do. And looking at this next fight, look at MonkaS. I mean, yes, they lost the fight, they lost the battle, they lost the point, but they have almost everything at their disposal with a GOATS comp that's just going to be barreling momentum right onto the point. They don't get knocked off. Oh, that was close, though.
Just a few more inches, but our Teru is going to be looking for that barrage, and the D.Va is completely ignoring him. The Transcendence will give him a little bit of breathing room, but the rest of his team just got in a Graviton, and there is Sleep self-destruct to annihilate everybody on Armament. MonkaS getting the retake.
Big MonkaS on that ult usage, though, because they used everything. I mean, if ever there was a MonkaS, that would be it. They had to use everything to get that point, and now Armament is right back into that same position that we saw MonkaS in just previously, you know, having the tools at their disposal to deal with what could be a pretty staunch defense, but we'll have to see if they can open things up with a barrage, with, you know, a health reset on either of their two tanks, and maybe a few picks with the Widow.
It's gonna be very tough. I mean, Romeo's sticking now onto the Brigitte, and this is gonna stun these dive tanks of Armament coming in, but where did this barrage just come from? Teru finding the perfect angle. He just got 4 kills there. Well, you could count the 3.5. What a play, though. It flips back into Armament's favor, 83%. MonkaS just need one more fight to shut down Lijiang.
And in the sky, we see this Pharah looking to try to generate yet another barrage. And you see DPI taking an angle here, looking for those supports if he can, because shutting down those supports will really open things up for his tanks to get in there and actually do some meaningful damage rather than just oppressing.
Oh, how did it find him back there? I forgot what his name is.
No speed.
Armament now need to get their position back onto the point. They've given up that position to MonkaS, although 2 supports are down. But MonkaS slowly working towards that Graviton. They're using the Coalescence to rain down into this lane. Valkyrie now, huge advantage for Armament in the healing department. Now they pushed off MonkaS, waiting for the Graviton, and Teru is raining down at all angles. Whoever exits the point is going to be dealing with Teru.
I mean, so that was such a clean fight too, because, you know, they get that kill onto the Lucio. Now they don't have speed with their GOATS comp. Without speed, they don't have the ability to really kind of force momentum, you know, really put out the pressure that they need to. And then a quick pick on Brigitte, that's it. That's lost. That's a lost fight.
Oh, Graviton, the last one. It looked like the barrage was coming in, but it's actually the self-destruct 1-to-1 trade. This is the last fight that decides Lijiang Tower. Armament in the number advantage, but actually flips to MonkaS's favor. Ultimates are exhausted from either side unless Remington can come back. He just got resurrected. He is about to get the Primal Rage. This could flip it. Wow, Romeo, what can this guy not play? He started off with the main, the Brigitte. He's onto the Sombra. He's cleaning everybody off, going after the Mercy. That would be a huge play somehow. The Mercy got away.
Yeah, the Mercy does get away, but there's the EMP to possibly shut down the tanks. Mercy can't really get in either, because if Mercy wants to be able to heal, he has to go all the way across the point and put himself into harm's way. So he went all the way around, and in the process left his tanks without any support. And that should be the fight for MonkaS as they claim this last kill. It ticks down, and MonkaS takes the first one here on Lijiang Tower.
How? how though? Like Romeo just popped off on another level of popping off with the Sombra. Like we talked about the Brigida, the Mei. He is what his team needs. Whatever role needs to be filled, Romeo is there to get the job done. We saw him, you know, they took the map thanks to his Mei. This is the play of the game with Perori's 6-man shatter. But all around, MonkaS is the complete opposite of MonkaS. They're playing fantastically this series.
I'm gonna tag that something along the lines of, you know, hashtag filth, hashtag winter's coming, hashtag short winter. Definitely gonna be the 3 ones I'm going for with that one, because there's just so much craziness that happened in just Control Center, right? Like just Control Center, you could probably write like a master's dissertation on or something, just like all the
God,
little different
please no.
intricacies. Yeah, I'm sure you don't want to do another one of those, especially after that. But I mean, yeah, there's so much going on with this that I think it's actually, you know, insane. And it's cool to see this level of competition at Open Division, right? Because there's so many little things that are happening and developing, and there's so many adaptations being made. This is truly high level Overwatch at the Open Division level. And it's awesome. I mean, it's so exhilarating. I'm so entertained by it, and I hope everybody else at home is as well.
We're entertained. You're entertained. Ham Tornado, our host, I'm sure she's entertained. How did you feel about that match? We didn't even get to go over sort of the histories behind these teams.
Nah, we were hopping straight into the action, into the meat of things, right? Nah, I feel you know, skip the bread. I'm called Ham Tornado. You go straight into it. So, but yeah, we didn't get predictions, and as opposed to our previous series, this is looking like a much closer fight between these two teams. MonkaS, they do take it 2-1, but I mean, regardless of the performance on Night Market, Control Center, wow, what a beautiful usage of the rotation of ultimates, and also just, I mean, Kim C doesn't just want kimchi. They are hungry for ultimates. I'm telling you, ate a grab, ate a blizzard, and then I do believe the last blizzard that we saw, there was some discussion, it was actually EMP'd. So all around, so many good reactions from both teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, something that we saw a lot of times actually with Mei, the last time we saw this specific composition, it was actually, I want to say it was you casting Ham, where it was in South America, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, it was either you or it was a Lemon Kiwi. So, I mean, had to be one of you. But either way, I remember it because I was analyzing, and we saw a lot of isolations being taking place there. And it was really kind of based off of isolating and really kind of playing off of that. But we didn't really see that as much. Yes, we saw some key isolations, particularly setting certain fights up early on, like, you know, taking out DPI Zarya to enable that last push that allowed them to get that last point, and then again taking those last couple of staggered kills as well. But it wasn't as much about isolation as it was about control. You know, when we saw it in South America a couple weeks ago, it was very much about just finding key targets, really kind of pigeonholing people. But this time it was mostly about just slowing down the fight, allowing your tanks to get into position, and keeping your supports healthy and alive. And that's a major difference in how we see a lot of people play the Mei. And it's interesting to see how Korea actually does wind up playing it, because that actually is kind of something that we see a lot with Meis in this region, is they play it for the control. They play it, you know, to be able to keep everybody else safe, not as much as it is to be lethal as we see in South America.
Although the lethality of those right clicks, man alive, Romeo, good on the Mei. And then Lemon, you were also bringing up, you know, his other DPS performances. That Sombra on Garden, so good against the Pharah.
He was chasing after the supports. He was being a nuisance. And I felt the other team had to constantly adapt to what hero was he going to pick out of the hat today? Was it going to be the Mei, the Brigida, the Sombra? This guy can play it all. And I think heroes, we were talking before the game, that Romeo, I think is, if it's the same Romeo, the Korean Romeo of head coach of EXL Esports in the Contenders Pacific. So when you have a coach coming in as a player, he's got to be a great shot caller. He's got to be a great leader, and he's got to know so much about the game, and it shows.
And there's 2 people on this roster that that could be like that. So I mean, yes, you have Romeo potentially, if it is the same guy. Obviously, we'll have to check into that. But you also have Insane. So going back to, you know, the last matchup, the last series that we had, I mentioned how you're going to hear a lot of LYB as a term, and that's Legend Young Beyond, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So, you know, you're going to hear a lot of that. And the reason being is because all of these teams basically have someone from that or one version of that roster in some way or another. It just is how things have kind of weirdly turned out. Insane is actually one of those guys. He was the coach of LYB. So they have Insane and Romeo on this roster, if that's actually, again, the same guy. You know, they have that ability to not just have that in-game lead, that, you know, that level-headedness that comes with, you know, having that top-down sort of look at things, but also having the ability to have that extra level of breakdown outside of the matches as well.
Well, we're getting right into our second map here on Rialto. And speaking of Insane Heroics, we have this Bastion from Agatha.
Yeah, we have it right there. I mean, they have completely just walked right up already. We see the Bastion on the point right now, and they've been able to just kind of waltz their way on up already. Teru on the Hanzo, laying in to Chang, who is forced to actually rotate off, and DPI looking for an angle himself. This double sniper certainly going in on Armament right now.
Well, triple DPS, and then you got your single Orisa of Reventon. Wow, this is insane. It's just so much damage. What can MonkaS do? And they're going to have to bring out Romeo on the Sombra, but how can he even get into a good position? They're just a unit pushing in like a train.
An absolute unit at that. But Sombra gonna die here very shortly. They capture the first point. They have over 5 minutes to do it. They'd rather get to the next one, and still running that double sniper. This is where angles become a little bit more scarce, but you know, still the power of the Widow getting that pick. I guarantee that they're gonna stick to this.
It takes so much coordination and absolute collapse to stop a Bastion. And now that Agatha not only has the tank configuration, but you got the Mercy, Mandu, who also has a Valkyrie, so you can power boost, and this is going to be a team fight winner unless MonkaS can build up towards Sign's Transcendence.
See if they can find this pick. I mean, it's going to be Widow v Widow in one of these setups here, because, you know, you see DPI and the places that he's trying to, the angles he's looking for, right? Chang does wind up taking down Teru, but with the angles that these two are taking, you can see that it's really going to come down to one of these two Widows getting the pick on the other and setting their team up for that advantage. We don't see Mercies on the table outside of Armament, who just, you know, put Mandu on that right there. So, you know, if Chang does wind up getting picked, that's a huge, huge advantage for Armament to continue this push.
It's going to be a lot of freedom for DPI if he gets rid of the other sniper, but Infrasight, I think, is still up, yes, for DPI, and now the fight will continue. Armament sending themselves up onto the payload, but Sleep about to send that self-destruct right into the bag. It looks like the Winston bubble is out, throws it over at the top. Who's it going to find? EMP to combine with that only finds DPI, but mainly you've taken out the supports of Armament, so this fight is over.
And now we'll see Romeo helping to kind of keep things stable after what was a disaster of a first point, obviously, but now they have given some distance to that payload, but it's just really about holding that corner now, right? I mean, Romeo really needs to kind of shut down some of these health packs, make sure that there aren't too many points of aggression for Armament, and force them to kind of take the streets if they have to, so that you can kind of surround them, you can play the close angles a little bit better, especially with Chang there to kind of lend him some more angles, some shooting lanes to fire down.
Speaking of shooting lanes, Romeo has found a very comfortable spot into the backline of this attack. But still, Kim C waiting with a self-destruct, and you got the primal reach from the defense. So this is about to be a lot of chaos going on where it was Kim C, Arm C, whatever, found a C over the top, and it gets a C+ in my books. It doesn't find any kills there. Armament continue to push MonkaS back. But you got two support ultimates, mainly the Transcendence starts out from MonkaS. They got a leftover Sound Bearer, but Armament have not given up, although they've lost already Mandu, their Mercy, early on in this fight.
Kim C with that Diva helping to secure everybody's safety, but not for long, as we do see Reventon falling.
And my goodness, this fight has gone on and on, down to the last 2 minutes. Armament can at least breathe a sigh of relief as MonkaS will fully reset after that wipe. But it looks like Sleep, he's feeling like a contest. He's eating some headshots, so I don't think that self-destruct would have been able to contest. Armament, though, now have built themselves up to 3.5 minutes to finish Rialto.
Infrasight ready for DPI as they take that second point, have plenty of time to secure the last, should they be able to get through what is two pretty difficult chokes, actually. I mean, the end of Rialto is very, very tough to handle. If you don't get some early picks or some momentum early on, it's very tough to get through to that last section of the map.
This is the toughest part of Rialto, and you've got tanks like MonkaS to deal with, but it's gonna be the rally that. Oh, I thought I heard the rally. She's just swinging his hammer around. Teru pushing the team forward. Reventon getting some help. Now self-destruct from Kimsey completely annihilates sort of this last part of Rialto. Not a lot of space to hide. MonkaS now have to switch to sleep now into the Zarya. Perori has to keep his shield up for this upcoming self-destruct. And you're missing Chang here, one of your main DPS, and Romeo. No more damage will be coming in from MonkaS. Armament looking to finish Rialto.
I think right now, if you're Armament, you don't want to use too much, and I think they might be actually allocating exactly that, too much. They're utilizing everything that they can to make sure that they don't actually get staggered, but actually, they wind up taking it. They wind up taking this this fight, and a little bit of a brain fart on my part. But either way, I mean, MonkaS, they just collapse under the pressure of Armament just continuing to push. They aren't able to maintain, and completely annihilated actually on that attack as Armament set the tone early with what was a very interesting Bastion look, you know, to just drive right in President style, and MonkaS folding and then just continuing to fold throughout. We'll see if they can bounce back on their attack, but Armament certainly poised to even this one up.
I'm just a really big fan of Kimsey this series. Not only have we seen him sort of eat these ultimates as the diva, just his overall positioning, and also that his placements of self-destructs this game have been really clutch, waiting for MonkaS to either have their Winston bubble down or to wait until the team is so separated that you got to get a kill with the self-destruct. He's just been on point as the off-tank, which is not a role you get to always highlight in games like these.
Now we'll see possibly a Hammond. I mean, I'm not sure if we're actually going to be getting this or not. I mean, Cherry Ring on a Hammond doesn't really make much sense in the grand scheme of things, right? Because you're going to want to see him on a second support, especially if you're bringing Zion onto the Zenyatta. But that's another player we haven't actually highlighted too much of, because, you know, Zion is one of those players that is interesting because he is obviously that flex support role, but he has the ability to potentially DPS as well. And then you start thinking about other players that are kind of like that. You think of, like, you know, Dogman or Klaus from SA. I mean, there's a lot of different players that are kind of in that same ballpark in terms of, you know, what to expect from them. So I'm curious to see more of him in terms of, like, you know, his mechanics, what he's doing in certain situations, how he communicates with his team would be, you know, really interesting to see as well. But already a pick from DPI, certainly, again, continuing that pace that they set for themselves on attack.
That guy's scary on Widow. He's hiding. I have no idea where he is, and he is already hunting for support blood. But Romeo on this May, we were a big fan of this on Control Center, and this is a perfect point to use in very close quarters, separating the team from Armament's defense, and it could maybe help them get onto the high ground if they really wanted to. I know May's usually the trick to get onto the high ground with the wall, but looks like the payload has stopped for now, and Teru's found some nice angles here on this high ground.
And we'll see Teru on top. I mean, you see these angles being taken by these snipers, and I mean, as MonkaS, they do bring the Mei up top to try to deal with it. They do find one kill. This could still be a situation where they're able to, you know, just sustain because of the fact that they still have that Widow for picks. They still have their front line healthy, and there's the res as well to bring their Zarya back up.
Damn, like, this guy is not kidding around. And then Reventon just throws that out, but it just kills all the hype. But speaking of hype, MonkaS just completely cleared out Armament. They're getting towards the end of point A, and hey, they didn't even need a Bastion.
Didn't even need a Bastion indeed, but granted, Armament was so quick with their take with the Bastion that we didn't even really get to see it because it was so fast. I talked for so long that we actually just basically missed it. But it was indeed fast, and Teru setting things up, just making sure that the Reinhardt gets thrown off the point, allows his Reinhardt to actually get into play.
I just didn't even recognize the sound cue from Hanzo. He is a lot lower pitched in Korean Overwatch, but speaking, didn't really do anything with that Dragon Strike. MonkaS, they're still trying to push through point A, and looks like they've temporarily been pushed off. At least they'll be working with a lot of ultimates for this coming fight, but it's getting kind of close in terms of how much time they have left.
Oh, that's big. Both of the control ults went down. We saw the Graviton right into an Earth Shatter just to make sure that they solidify that point take. Yes, they don't have as much time, and, you know, certainly they have a couple of corners to get around, you know, especially that that last kind of elbow right before you get into the, you know, I guess dock stage, if you want to call it that. But look how aggressive they're being, taking advantage of those short spawns and staggering those kills as well.
That's a heavy stagger, and they're taking out their Mercy, which they absolutely need to wait for Mandu for this push. So I'm guessing they're going to be able to get back at least halfway through point B. They even got Romeo so far into the backline, could get a one burst. I mean, looking for the Mercy preferably, could get the Zenyatta, whichever one, or maybe just scouting, hanging out, doesn't have the EMP, so this is a very interesting look for Romeo.
And they're going forward. This will be a very good opportune moment for Armament to finally create a little foothold for themselves. But as they look to sustain, there's the Graviton that comes down.
Oh, so many ultimates just dropped down. You got Kim C's Graviton, 2 support ultimates from MonkaS, and there's Terra's Dragon Strike that just peels through the middle of the map. 2 going down, so this has been not looking good for MonkaS. They're looking to try and retreat, and Sleep would love to get away with the energy he has left, but he's finished off.
Yeah, they need to find these kills here. Ideally, they would have found the Lucio there as well, but I think perhaps DPI was a little afraid that he was going to get changed in that moment. And I certainly would have been afraid of that too. I mean, that was a man on fire throughout this attack, for sure. But, you know, they're sitting comfortably right now. They won the fight that they had to win. Yes, they didn't look as coordinated as we've seen in the past. And yes, DPI probably should have landed one of those 2 shots to land the kill onto Romeo and deny the EMP, but it didn't happen, and now they have to adapt. How are they going to do that? It has to come from Teru once again. They have the Mercy, get out of harm's way, see what you can make happen away from the EMP.
Yeah, MonkaS are playing so grouped up, and now they have the EMP that just dropped. Graviton launched in from Sleep. This is quite an investment of ultimates, obviously paying off, but this should get them point B in time to move on into point C with